Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this very exciting Civilizations in Review. My name is Ben, and we're here with two really exciting content writers. We have Hiba Asim, all the way from Egypt, calling in tonight, and Yabsara, a wonderful content writer extraordinaire to help me co-moderate. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we will post this incredible conversation in 5 places. You're already on Facebook, so welcome. We will also add it to our website, our YouTube, our Spotify, and our Instagram, so you can gain all this great knowledge. And also, please dive into the Abbasid Empire. One of the ones I was pretty well familiar with before Alfuzek was born, so I'm excited to learn even more and engage. So I'll throw the intro to Yabsara to begin, and thanks so much all for tuning in. Take it
Hello,
away.
everyone, and I'm happy to read the intro before we begin. So, the Abbasids, known in Arabic as Abbasiyun, were the second Arab dynasty to rule over the Muslim world, following the Umayyads, known in Arabic as Umayyun. The Abbasid Caliphate, al-Khalifa al-Abbasiyya, was the third Muslim caliphate. Their origin began with the Prophet Muhammad's uncle, al-Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib. This was known as the Golden Age of Islamic culture, and it was one of the longest and most influential Islamic dynasties, which spanned from 750 to 1258 CE. And their era, Baghdad, Iraq's capital, was the focal point of science, but this was before the Mongols depleted and wiped out the Abbasid Empire entirely.
MashaAllah. Thank you for reading that, but also Hiba for bringing this together. Yeah, I mean, in most Middle East history or Arabic classes, the Abbasids are everywhere, just given the propensity of what they've done since the founding of Islam. So I was very grateful that you took on this challenge to at least get the formatting and word counts right. But this is relatively a more well-known empire, so hopefully the research wasn't too bad. But I want to sort of begin with why did you choose the Abbasids of all the empires that were available at that time? What drew you to the Abbasids?
Okay, first of all, I'm so happy to be with you guys, and I'm so excited that I'm one of the first writers. So, and it was my first experience in writing, so it's amazing. For the Abbasids, I found it interesting because, um, as Yasser mentioned, that it was the golden era of the Islamic country in large. So they have so many inventions, they have so many contributions in all fields. You will see in the article that I mentioned how the translation flourished, how the algebra was invented, how the technique of camera was invented. It was so interested, and it was interesting, and it was so exciting for me to know how the first things that we can see around us came from, and also the idea of being like on the top of the world for 5 centuries, more than 5 centuries. It's so incredible to see how powerful they were, and how they tried to pull all the people together. So it was so interesting for me, and it was so exciting to dive in and know more about them. Yes.
Thank you for sharing, why you were interested in reading it, because from even high school going back, one of the very first things that I would learn in world history is, the Abbasid Empire, the Umayyad Empire, and it kind of shows how important they were to the Islamic age, the inventions that you mentioned, like algebra being so important to what we know now. The camera technique blew my mind when I read it in your writing. And so one of the things that I would like to begin with is I see that in the very beginning with the inception and decline of the Abbasid Empire, you wrote that they maintained many of the same ruling standards, including recruiting non-Muslims from high positions in society, as the Umayyads once did. And so could you go into more detail as to why they would recruit non-Muslims into high positions of society? That was one thing that I was really interested in learning more about.
Yeah, one of the things that caused the decline of Umayyads, that they didn't hire or recruit the non-Muslims known as Mawali, from Persian and from Turkish, um, you know, um, um, sorry, dynasty. So they didn't recruit them in higher positions. That's why people, did the revolution against them. So when the Abbasids wanted to introduce themselves to the Islamic world, they tackle the emotions of these specific category of people, that they are Muslims but non-Arabs. So they recruit them in higher positions. They give them more, authorities. They give them more leverages. And ironically, this was exactly the reason behind their decline, the Abbasid decline, because when they give them more, authority at the last, episode of the Abbasid era, they take over and they, did the revolution against the Abbasids themselves, and they assist the Mongols to attack and to conquer Baghdad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, I did not know that. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So they were able to assist the Mongols and finally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they weakened the, make it more weak for the recent caliphs back then.
Okay. And did Muslims ever dissent to the fact that non-Muslims were gaining such high positions of society during their time?
No, they were Muslims. They were Muslims, but they were non-Arabs. They were
okay.
Yeah, they were non-Arabs. They were Muslims. All of them were Muslims, but they were non-Arabs. So it was like tough for them to accept, like, he is not Arab and how he will rule over me. It's something non-acceptable for maybe the pride of the Arabs Caliphate. But history is history. This has happened all throughout the history. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I mean, we can go on for days about the ruling structure and integration of different ethnic communities. That is just so fascinating. But I mean, I think the thing I know the most about the Abbasids, I mean, is their expansion across the Arab world was the kind of the first thing I learned, but also like all of the science, wisdom, libraries, literature, inventions. I mean, almost everything we use in our modern day largely can be traced partially to the Abbasid community. So I don't really know where to tackle this, if we want to do the land part or the inventions first, but like those are just the two pieces I was really well aware of the Abbasid community. And so I'll let you answer whichever one you prefer, of the expansion that they had over their 5 centuries, and all of the contributions to science, intelligence, life, whatever you want to take it. I'll let you answer the question, Hiba.
Yeah, this expansion you just mentioned is the cause of the huge revolution in science and all the fields you can think about, because there was something known as, it's written in the article, something known as the House of Wisdom. It was in Arabic, it's Beit al-Hikmah. Beit al-Hikmah is a huge, enormous, we can tell, library, which includes so many books, and in non-Arabic books. So scholars came from all across the region, ruled by the Abbasids, came to have their scholarships in this Beit al-Hikmah, this library, and they flourish the the movement of translation. They translated all the books back then from the language, Latin language, to Arabic. So it helps them to discover new perceptions and new things. They also discover new treatments for the disease and so on. So it's related together. When you think that you have expanded territory across the Middle East, like you said, Ben. So you can imagine how many people, how many scholars came from all these countries, and just gathered in one place, just to study, just to you know, think about the things in a more deeper perception, to discover what is behind that and what we can use for that, for us to be improved and to discover new things. I hope I answered your question, Ben.
Oh, beautifully so. No, it is just, I don't know. I would say probably of the empires I was so familiar with, Abbasid would be the top list
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Largely for all
I
the
agree
reasons
with
you
you.
mentioned. I mean, and any Arabic, Middle East, Islam, history, like North African class of any kind that has any
Yeah,
part of history automatically begins with the Abbasids. I mean, the explosion and expansion of Islam, all of the innovations and science, literature, the poetry that we read in Arabic class that is so difficult, like all of these pieces is really rooted in this
yeah.
caliphate. And so I just really found it so fascinating. You probably, and I guess this is a real question then, probably had too much information to sift through because it's so well documented. It probably was really hard to
Yeah.
stick to the one-on-one
Yeah,
word.
this was one of the challenges
Yeah.
actually faced me when I tried to gather all the information in one place, specifically when I am limited with amount of words. So I want to mention everything, but it's so limited, so I don't know what to do. But I tried my best to focus and highlight on the most distinguished, invention in this era. And surprisingly, I when I dig deeper, I discovered more inventions. You know, other than I mentioned in the article, I discovered that they invented the first version of the air conditioner. You know, I can share the screen if you want to let you see uh, the uh, the photo of it.
For those who will be listening, we'll post this on our social media,
Yes,
on the podcast.
yes.
For those
This, as you see, it's named malaqif. Malaqif is plural, okay? And the it's like you see, it's a small windows, small openings in the top of the buildings to let the air when it's hot in the hot season to enter from these small windows and to be cooled naturally in these tubes until it reached the ceilings of the whether it's homes, houses, or hospitals or mosques, and it's mostly used in the places that witness so much crowd, like I mentioned, hospitals, mosques, and most of the houses. So I was very, very fascinated when I discovered that they have the first version of air conditioner, and they discovered the as I mentioned, the algebra. They discovered, you know, the something called qandil, which is a lamp that is meant means to lighten the mosques, and it has a very, very specific shape, and it exists till now in the old mosques, even here in Egypt. So it's so fascinating that you discover all of these things that they have done. They were hard workers, Ben, I believe, and Yapsara, because these inventions don't come just like that, not by chance, not by luck. They must have been working so hard to figure out specifically how these things work and how they can use it in their daily life.
Wonderful. I am mind blown. And we all can agree that they were advanced way beyond their time. And just reading through everything, for example, I found that they had a lot of tradings with China, like gunpowder and like the invention of paper. And they were able to record like the Quran and like a lot of their writings. And so it goes to show how even though they were expanding greatly across, the Middle East, North Africa, they were also working closely with other countries nearby to expand their inventions and their knowledge. So I believe that this may be one of the greatest things that helped them be the longest and most influential civilizations. And when I was reading, I also was very curious about their ruling system. And I read that they had an elaborate intelligence system. And that was something that, that lit like a bulb. And I was like, I'm really interested to read more about this and hear more from you, Hiba. So was there anything that you found interesting about their intelligence system and how it worked?
Yes, it's maybe it's an old way, but we can tell that it's still been used till now. They have a very strong and powerful intelligence system that they recruit some soldiers that they walk undercover and just spread in the aswaq. Aswaq means markets, okay? And for the people who are ruling, whether they are ministers or whether they are governors, to know what they are saying and doing behind the Caliphate back, So, and they did some reports, and then they reported to the head of the intelligence for them, and the head of the intelligence as well report to the Caliphate to assist the performance of the ruling people under him, like the structure and the hierarchy of the ruling system, whether they are the prime minister, whether they are ministers, whether they are governors, and also to know about the people, what they are thinking about, what they want. Are they happy with the caliphate, or they are not happy with the caliphate, and why? So it's so amazing that they think about this idea and they implement it, but it was not undercover totally, because people by the time discover who were transferring the news and so on. But it's amazing. It's amazing to think about it back in that time, in that specific era. It's something advanced to think about.
Definitely. And I also read that mailmen were also hired as people of the intelligence community. So I found that to be hilarious, because can you imagine somebody delivering mail to you and being like, so what do you think about the Khalifa, And so that was interesting to read for me.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just so many things here that we can talk about. Even just one invention can be a huge podcast in of itself. I think you're probably one of the very few writers who had too much information and word counts were difficult to hit, or I guess to come down from. And I will say, all the stuff you didn't get in your 101, we can post elsewhere. So don't worry, we won't lose that great knowledge. If you wanted to make, like, I don't know, a probably 30-page invention list or something, we would love that. But yeah, no, I find that's you're probably one of the very, very, very few of any of Al-Fuzayk's writers who had a trouble cutting down words. Not because it was hard necessarily to write, but just some of these are not very well known or intentionally not talked about. Abbasids do not have that problem. And so, there's so many incredible pieces here. The architecture, the irrigation, the science, the history, the math, the literature. I mean, you can go on and on. One of my favorite parts that you wrote about, and in the modern influence section, is 1001 Nights, which partially turned into Aladdin, and everything else that so many of us who engage with the Middle East really know is this story and stories. And that was written during the Abbasid Caliphate. So if you could talk a bit more about, I don't know, its writing, its in importance at the time, or anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, it's a very, very fascinating thing, because it's like encyclopedia of stories, So it's so much fun to go through it in any language, and especially in Arabic, because it's related to the Arab culture and the Middle Eastern culture. So we studied it in the schools for our kids. We talked about it. We found it like so interesting to just to translate it to all the language in the world now. So it's something so huge and so amusing, to find a story about people talking, and so many, the peak of the drama and so on. And in Egypt, we transfer this book into a series, a TV series, in a very, very simple way. And we did it in Ramadan, especially. And it gathered all the, the family around it, and they enjoyed it so much. And they did something like, riddles. Okay, it's about it also in Ramadan. It's called Fawazir in Egypt. It's like a riddle, and when you watch it, you just think about the answer of the question they ask in the end, at the end of the episode, and you send it to the Maspiro. Okay, Maspiro is the Ministry of Mass Communication. And if you won the one, if you did it well, if you answered the question good, so you will win a prize. So it was something so fun. And it was not used in only in Egypt. I believe it was spread around all the Arab countries. Yeah.
That is so fun. I love that. For those that don't know, Ramadan soap operas are probably some of the best TV out there. Since you're fasting for 30 days, they make special TV programs to watch each night as you break the fast and to pass the time. And the fact that the most famous, or one of at least the very most famous Arab stories, 1001 Nights, was turned into this not just TV show, but like interactive quiz
Yeah.
regional element. That's so fun. I love that. It's probably super late. The answers are out there, but go take the quizzes, everyone. Watch the TV shows. Several Ramadan shows are on our recommendation list as well. They're not about Ramadan, but they're during those 30 days. It's a kind of this is super not about the Abbasids anymore, but just that connection and ability to sort of bring a community or family together during those 30 days and have this shared TV program. And I'll bring it back to now talk about the Abbasids through that is really cool. And again, I think it's why the Abbasids is so well known, is because that is also in modern popular culture, Ramadan TV show. Again, Aladdin, who probably many Americans who study the Middle East, one of their first connection points to the Middle East was that Disney movie, and so many other pieces. So I don't know, there's just a really wonderful literature impact that this empire continues to have, on top of the camera on my phone, excuse me, or anything else, all really stemmed from the inventions of the Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom. It's just there's just so much to talk about here, and I'm a little overwhelmed in a good way about how much incredibleness there is. You mentioned to me at the beginning of this, Hiba, that there was a connection to Egypt, and since you're currently living in Egypt, maybe on top of the Egyptian Ramadan show, if you want to talk a little bit more about the origins of the Abbasid Caliphate, I'd love to hear that piece as well.
Yes. So as Yapsara mentioned, that the decline of Abbasid was in the 1258 AD, right? So after they witnessed their decline, they fled to Cairo, from Baghdad to Cairo, and they tried to establish a new caliphate, Abbasid Caliphate, and it's in the studies and the theories, it said about that it was between 1261 until 1517, okay, in Egypt. But there is something so astonishing about it, because they were not only purely Abbasids, because they witnessed the rise of Mamluks era in Mamalik. So they used these people. They recruit these people. They were the people who they captured from the wars. Okay, the war they have been through. So they captured those people, and those people were named Mamalik. Named after the being captured. So they recruit them to assist them in their things in the all or over the country. But these Mamluks become stronger, and they take over. So they didn't last so much in the regime in Egypt, but as I mentioned, the studies and theories say that they have been in Egypt after they fled from Baghdad, after their official decline on the hand by the hand of the Mongols. Yeah.
Incredible. And I mean, the Mamluk dynasty is a previous live stream and is already on our site as well, so you can see those interconnections. Yeah, that's so great. And especially, you know, as an Egyptian yourself, that's really cool to talk about the impact of, you know, your physical geography. Just thank you for I know you really wanted to talk about that, and so thank you for adding that piece. There is so much to talk about here, and we could go on for hours more. I won't do that because the time zones are not in your favor, and thank you for staying up so late. I guess one more sort of final wrap up point here. Any other, you know, really cool pieces you want to share, a favorite invention, or, you know, whatever else you'd like to sort of talk about as we wrap up this call tonight?
Okay, I believe that I have like a comment, or you know, maybe a thought about the Abbasids, that maybe the time was not in their favor most of the time, because they were trying hard to please all the people around them, to make people come, whether it's for politics or for whatever agenda they had. But the last thing about them, the last thing about the things about them were their inventions. So I believe that we have to make sure, like, to make an impact and leave a footprint that will talk about us for, you know, centuries after we gone. This is what I really have in mind when I was thinking about Abbasid, when I wrap up my, you know, my article, and I was just thinking, you know, I felt like I'm a little thinker, you know, and I said, oh yeah, the impact is the thing that lasts forever. Not the political, you know, issues, not the conflicts, none of that. Only the impact that lasts forever, and that's it.
Wonderful. And any final questions you have, Yabstra, as we wrap up?
I'm not gonna keep, I have a question, but I don't want to keep her longer than she already is. I know it's late in Cairo. One thing that I wanted you to talk more about was, do you think the civilization was fair in terms of their treatment towards Muslim Arabs and non-Muslim Arabs? When I was looking, I saw that Muslims have to pay 2.5% tax. And then I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation, but jizya for levies based on wealth of non-Muslims. Do you think that kind of contributed to the fairness that was put into society? Because when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking if they didn't keep things fair in terms of taxes, the non-Muslim Arabs would have dissented long before they did, closer to the Mongols coming in. So was that something that you noticed as you were, you know, researching this?
Yes, let me tell you something, Yatsura. We have some instruction in Islam, which is zakah. Zakah means some small amount of money. Okay, you just put it for the needy people and so on. So for those people, for non-Muslims, they don't pay zakah. So they have to pay something to share with the community. It's a concept of sharing, not it's just they not, you know, force them to do that, because if you didn't pay you would be excluded or you'd be executed or something like that. No, it's not like that. It's just for the sharing, because we are paying for building the community, you know, and for the needy people, and for like the idea of taxes in every and each country. Now we pay taxes to get you know, more advanced services, and you know, to keep the quality of life. So it's the same idea, but in a very religious, you know, terms. But if we looking through it now, it's the same thing that you pay taxes to get a good water, to get a good transportation, to get a good infrastructure, and so on and so forth.
And that's one thing that I liked, and I made sure to note it down, because whether you're looking at non-Muslim Arabs or, Muslim Arabs, they both have to pay taxes one way or another. So that kind of, created an equality in a sense.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thanks for adding that little bit of Islamic history, and again, their taxation system, also another invention. Well, not really. I think there was jizya well before, but regardless,
it's something in the instruction of Islam, so it's not new. Yeah.
Right, for sure, but expanded upon at least, and widened for the whole empire. So we'll give them that credit. Well, so many cool pieces here. Again, we could keep going, but I will have a hard stop right now. Thank you so much, Hiba. This has been so informational and educational and engaging. Just wow, what a wealth of knowledge you are, and this empire. So I'm so appreciative of you taking the challenge to only write 800 words. And again, if you want to make this like invention inventory, that kind of works. You are more than welcome to dive into it. Thank you, Yabsra, like usual, incredible co-moderator, great questions. And thank you, our audience, for listening and engaging with us. You can again see this conversation on all of our social medias, all 5 places, and also our website. There's a bit more we didn't talk about, believe it or not. So go read the rest of the article, engage with the content. Again, our website is alfusaic.net. That's alfusaic.net. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.